a lot of people gave you a lot of credit for helping Barack Obama win the state of Pennsylvania and do it early in the night on election night.
Right.
What's the sense that you're getting from people now, their reaction to Obama as president as opposed to candidate, and what are you hearing from them, complaints or concerns or praise?
I think people are basically still extremely supportive of the president because he's portraying, and I think accurately portraying, his administration as one that's willing to act. And people after the last 8 years are saying, look, at least they're out there fighting for us. They're trying to do some things. I'm not sure the stimulus will work, but gosh, we got to try something. So I think he gets credit for that. Credit for moving on education and energy and the environment and healthcare, things that he promised during the campaign. If you voted for Barack Obama, you voted for him because of healthcare or the environment or energy or education, and now you see him trying to carry out those plans. There's, of course, underlying the popularity and the support he has, there's uncertainty. There's uncertainty. People are confused about the bank problems and the housing problems and these toxic assets, and they don't have a clue how it can be solved. They're not necessarily sure that Washington has a clue how they can be solved.
How long do you think the people of Pennsylvania will give President Obama?
I think they'll give him a year and a half at least, because they understand he inherited these problems. I mean, to hear the Republicans, in Washington talk, you'd think the recession started on January 21st. He inherited the worst economic recession probably since the Great Depression. He inherited a huge budget deficit created by 8 years of incredible spending in Washington and tax cuts for the rich. So he inherited all of that. So I think people understanding that will give him a little leeway.
Of the 3 Republican votes in Congress for the stimulus plan, 1 came from Pennsylvania. When you heard about Senator Specter's decision, what was your reaction, and did you get the sense that this was a political move, or was this a...
No. We talked to Senator Specter, myself and my staff, talked to he and his staff all the way through this process. And I'm not surprised. Arlen Specter has always made tough votes. He's always made votes that have made it difficult for him within his own party. There's no question. I mean, for a senator who served that long, 5 years ago, had a primary where he won by 17,000 votes out of 1 million, that's because he makes tough votes. The one thing about Arlen Specter is he's very smart, he's very bright, and he's very stubborn when he believes he's right. And he voted for the stimulus bill because he thought it was the right thing to do. Now, let me tell you, Arlen Specter's an extremely smart man. I worked for him when I was a young assistant DA, and he's a DA. He knew exactly what he was doing, exactly the political trouble he was placing himself in by making that vote. But he thought it was the right thing to do. He thought the country desperately needed new spending, and he's going to have a deuce of a primary. Right now, I'd have to say he's the underdog to be reelected. I'd say Congressman Toomey would be the favorite. But Arlen Specter's been in tough spots before, and he's always managed to survive.
There have been some rumors about him possibly running as a Democrat in the
We've
next
tried, myself, Senator Casey, Vice President Biden, have tried to talk him into it, but he's bound and determined to stay a Republican. He doesn't want to see Republican moderates vanish from the earth. And you know what? He's probably right.
Could he even win the nomination if he ran as a Democrat?
Oh, he'd be unopposed. The Democrats in the Senate would welcome him. We in Pennsylvania would welcome him. I think he'd be basically unopposed for the Democratic nomination, and I think he'd win 65% of the vote in the general election. But he again is a man of principle. He believes there should be moderates in the Republican Party. He believes that's good for the country. And truth be told, it is good for the country. It would be terrible if we had a Republican Party that was totally conservative and a Democratic Party that was totally liberal. That's why it's important to have conservative or moderate Democrats.
You're a former DNC chair, the current RNC chairman, Michael Steele, having some troubles in that position. There was a report out yesterday that he seemed to indicate that he supported choice on abortion, which would put him at odds with his party. Do you think he's going to last as RNC chair?
If he supports choice on the issue of abortion, no, I don't think he can last. And it's a shame, because the Republican Party has become so doctrinated, not the Republican Party, meaning Republican voters, But the people who control infrastructure of the Republican Party have become such ideologues that they brook no dissent. And if Michael Steele said he's pro-choice, my guess is he won't last out the year as party chairman. And that's a shame, because Michael Steele's a charming guy who can make a case for the Republican Party, not being this nihilistic, small, far right-wing body, but a more inclusive party that's willing to accept other ideas. So I think he's in trouble if he said that, and I think that's to the long-term detriment of the Republican Party.